Hello. I think I am ready to get this started. I think. Let me see. Okay, yeah, those are surface mount compatible. Just getting organized here a little bit. So, today we are building a Corne Light V2. The Corne Light is light because there's no LEDs. It's solder only. It's really simple PCB. If you look at the traces, they're just really, I mean, you can't get much simpler than these traces. It's pretty nice. Um, I got this from Tom Barnes. He had some made up and sent me a pair. Um, and the main reason I got these is because I wanted to try out the Chalk V2 switches. He said specifically that the brown ones aren't that bad. So I figured, why not give it a try? So I got a Chalk V2 switch. It's got a little different footprint than the regular Chalk V1 or MX switches do. But it goes right on here somehow. I've done it with at least one. But otherwise, it's fairly bog standard build. There's TRS jacks, reset buttons, controller, diodes. It's going to go pretty quick, I imagine. Yo. MP cool. Or is it MPI cool? These are just some cheapy DSA blank keycaps I got from Amazon. Nothing special. I don't really have a lot of MX caps because I have so many group buys on order that I'm just waiting for. And I'm really picky about keycaps, so if they've got legends on them, I need to be able to organize them into Dvorak because I'm just like that. But these are just cheapy blanks from Amazon. That's what's going to go on. And I think DSA also probably works the best on this because they're smaller. I don't know. Whatever. We'll try it. It's mostly this is an experiment to see if I like the switches, and also to see if just to add a Corne to my collection. I feel like at this point I need to just collect all the Corne switches. So I want to try to find like a Corne or a Chalk Mini Corne. I know they exist. And then get Chalk Mini switches and put them in here, and just whatever else I can build. So 3 pins. Yeah, so the board actually has, if you look here, let me get something to point with. There's a pin here. Camera work. Nope. There we go. Okay. So there's a pin here, and a pin here. And I think, oh yeah, you do solder all three. So that actually holds it in place. So you've got two that are for electrical contact and one that is just for mechanical to keep it stabilized and stuff like that. So it's a little loose kind of right now, but probably no worse than a surface or a socketed Chalk V1 switch. Oh yeah, and I'm not gonna have a case on this because I don't have a case for it. I do have a pair of plates that I got from my Corne or my Corne or from my Corne LP kit. I think I accidentally ordered an extra set of plates, or I wasn't sure if I wanted white or black, and I went with black. But this is just gonna be bare PCBs with the bits on them and bump-ons on the bottom, because that's how it should be. So yeah, and then just some pro micros, and I've got regular non-socketed headers because whatever, I'm just gonna go with regular solder on headers. Cool. So get started, and as usual, I think I'm gonna start with the diodes because there's a bunch of them They take the longest, but they're also pretty easy to do. So I've got the soldering iron on. I'm going to turn it up. One thing I forgot to grab is flux. So one of the things I learned with the Helix build is how to use flux properly when soldering, like, when soldering LEDs. So you put a little flux on the contacts on both sides, and then you can just drop some solder from your iron onto it. That helps you not have to hold your soldering iron on the component for very long. So I'm going to try that with these diodes, because in the past I've done things where it's like, okay, we'll hold it in place and then put the solder in there and then put the iron on. It's a pain in the ass. Or you pre-solder on one of the pads and you stick them on and then you go back and reflow them later. Or last time I did one of these, I think I used solder paste, which worked fine, except it's really messy and it takes a long time to squeeze it out because it's really hard to push on it, and then you got to squeeze just a little tiny bit on each pad. If I had like a solder template or a solder stencil for that, that would go a lot faster, because you put the stencil on, you just scrape a bunch of solder paste on there and it'll pick off the stencil and it takes all the excess paste. But I don't have that. So I'm going to try just a little dab of flux on the contacts and on the component and drop a little solder on and see what happens. The worst case scenario, I fall back to some other method that I've already used successfully in the past. But in theory, this should make this go much faster, because it is about as fast as soldering, just like wipe a little bit on the thing and drop some solder on and you're done. Like, it's should be pretty quick. The hardest part is going to be orienting the diodes, but that's already a hard part anyways, because it's really hard to see. And yeah. Go ahead and get started here. Okay. I will say this new mat thing that I have is really nice because it keeps things from bouncing all over the place if I drop them. But it's also frustrating because sometimes you want to bounce it to get it to flip over, and it doesn't bounce very well, so you drop a component and you're like, okay, now just flip over. No, it didn't do it. Fuck. You have to bounce it a bunch of times. It's just, yeah. There are worse problems, but it's not perfect. Okay, get my soldering iron nice and cleaned up. I can't see it. Whatever. Let's move this crap out of the way. Solder pen. All right, I'm gonna actually move this up here just a little bit. Not so much so y'all can see it, but just more so it's like easier for me to grab. Okay. Give this a try here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just a little tiny wipe on there, little tiny wipe on here. Get some solder on the end of this, on the iron, and I'll turn the fan on in a second. I just want to proof of concept this. Okay, come on. I know it's early. Come on. Okay. I'm actually going to turn it on now, because damn. Okay, let's see. Let me get a little better. Try some camera stuff today. See if I can't get a better angle for y'all. Better? Maybe? So, got the components. Little dab here. Little dab there. Some solder and oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, this is gonna work real nice. This is gonna go really fast. Okay. Little dab. Oh. Rearrange just a bit. Let's make this more workflow, or get a little assembling line. Yeah, I'm probably gonna end up with a different camera at some point. Just if for no other reason, because I'd like to be able to use my phone while I'm streaming. But we'll see. There's some amount of me that's like, I want to have goals first, meet those goals, and then buy more stuff, because I've already put a fair amount of money into this setup, and I have 5 viewers. So and thank you for those 5 viewers. Much appreciated. Not saying it's bad, just saying that, like, maybe once I get 10 viewers, I'll be like, okay, maybe I should invest in a better camera. Okay, now, one of the things I'm running into is these components are in the wrong place. They need to be right here. These diodes. So I'm going to scoop them up. Hopefully I don't throw half of them on the floor. Okay, so far so good. See, I have goals, and I met a lot of those goals on Wednesday. Wednesday was a very, very good day for me. A company I used to work for decided they wanted to buy back my stock. So it was a very good day for me. And no, I don't have a schmancy camera for travel pics. I just use my phone. Because, you know what they say, the best camera is the one you have. And I never don't have my phone. Especially when traveling. Part of me wants to skip the whole $100 webcam and go straight to a Micro Four Thirds with a fancy lens, or at least with interchangeable lenses. But that's you know, that's money we're talking about, not just like, oh, it's a $50 camera and it's better than my phone. No, that's like serious investment. Whoops. Forgot to flux that. That's fine. Yeah, I will say so far this is way faster, way easier, and way less messy than using paste. At least doing it by hand like this. Stencil might make it less messy or faster or whatever, but I don't have a stencil, and I don't expect to have a stencil in most of my builds, so... Z6 or Z6. What is that? Is that a camera or is that a phone? Or a Sony? Is that a Sony camera? See, I don't know anything about cameras. I would just end up with like a Canon Digital Rebel or whatever the Micro Four Thirds equivalent is. Oh, Nikon. So you're the Nikon shooter. I'm just kidding. I have friends who are Canon, so I always tease. What do you use for a lens for that? For streaming? Oops, dropped my diode. Yeah, that's one thing I wish I had actually on my phone was a macro. I have the 12 mini, the iPhone 12 mini, and it doesn't have the telephoto lens, which normally is fine, but if I want to take a picture of, say, a PCB, it's really hard to get the damn thing to focus. Like, really, really hard to get it to focus. And I know it can get like detachable lenses and stuff like that, but that just seems excessive. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, you bastard. So here's the situation where I want to just pick it up and drop it to get it to flip over. Well, that kind of worked that time. Yeah, one thing I kind of want to get into is more more like build videos that are kind of almost how-to-ish, or at least like condensed versions of streams. But I feel like that is a totally different setup than like, oh, I'll just take clips off of the stream, because you need closer shots on components and stuff like that. And so probably like build one on stream and then build one off stream as a video versus being a stream. But then, you know, keyboards are already expensive. But I will say, at least on if I do that, I only have to buy the PCBs and the components, because I can, you know, take that second build and just, you know, oh, and here are the switches I used, and just, you know, use the switches off of the one I streamed with or something. Because I get that, you know, streaming VODs are of someone building a keyboard are probably not the most entertaining things in the world. But like a produced video could be pretty handy to have as documentation, if nothing else. Okay, this one's a little harder because it's right on the cut line here. So shit keeps wanting to fall into there. I mean, you say that, Kaz, but you have no idea how many keyboards I have in my queue right now. I bought a shitload of keyboards recently. Okay, so that is all of the diodes, at least 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 21. Yep. So that's all the diodes, at least one side of it. So I'm going to cheat and do the other side with just a little flux. Oh, okay. Well, that one is not on very well, but that's fine. So I'll fix it. Oh, come on. What I should be able to do here is just kind of go like a little drop. A little drop. Well, okay. So this experiment hasn't gone perfectly. Okay. Set that one aside for a second. think I just need more solder. So it's hard to see what's happening. What's happening is some of these are kind of loose because the solder went between the leg off of the diode and the pad, but isn't necessarily holding onto it very well. So I'm adding a little bit of solder. Just means when I do the next round of these, I need to just use more solder on each one. No big deal. But it also means that a couple of them are just coming off the board. Fortunately, these diodes are not super fragile, so I can screw up a little bit on them and it's not a big deal. Under oath to get a Hyper 7. Are you going to build the Hyper 7 yourself? That would be a long build. Okay. Hey, you never know. Thought maybe you had a change of heart. V3 of what? The Hyper 7? I didn't even know there was a V2. I find it fascinating that that board exists at all because it's just so ridiculous. I mean, I could see like one person building one on their own kind of thing, but like to have it be something that's like almost production level. I mean, there's big keyboards, and then there's the Hyper 7. Like, that's next level big. Okay, well, that is all the diodes on that hand. So, or do the other one. And I don't have enough diodes. So, I'm going to have to get some more out. Let's see, how many do I have? 3, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So, I need 7 more. One, two, three, four, five, 6, 7. It occurs to me now that I could have just cut the 7 off and then peeled, whereas instead I did the other way around. But that's okay, because nobody's keeping track of my efficiency scores. And if you are, well, there you go. That's room for improvement. And also, if you are, that's kind of weird, but okay. One more. Okay. Also, I want to say, wasn't there a rap song in the 90s about big keyboards? It's really popular. Sir types a lot or something like that. Come on. Anybody have any fun weekend plans? The weather here in Portland today is kind of shitty. A little cold, a little rainy. It's supposed to clear up later, but I've got D&D later, so I'm going to miss the nice bits. I'm going to try to get out for a walk this afternoon. Oh yeah? Whereabouts are you? If you don't mind me asking. You can be vague, like Europe. Not asking for your address. Whoops. Dropped one. Ah, you jerk. Get over here. Oops. Okay. Nope, I didn't lose it that time. No. Come on now. Yeah, I've had some issues with magnet cables on my phone. Like, it just stops working from time to time, and I think what happens is the phone either I'm like accidentally shorting out the contacts and so it's disabling the port, or it's like, hey, there's this thing plugged in forever, but it hasn't been giving me power. So I go back and forth between whether or not I have the magnet cable plugged in. I mean, it's hard to go to bed on time even when it's not 3 weeks of holidays, at least for me. So I sympathize. Okay, that is half of the other board done too. So let's do a little fluxing. And we'll grab the solder. I think I need to invest into a chisel tip for my soldering iron. Because sometimes it's just hard to get the bead of solder that's on the tip against the board because it wants to climb up the tip a little bit instead of stick right at the tip at the very end, which makes sense. I definitely noticed that when I was soldering those SK6812s because I was trying to get it kind of down into the pad and it just wasn't happening sometimes, a lot of times. Okay, so that is all the diodes on this hand too. That was quick. What are we at? Half an hour? 45 minutes to do 42 diodes? Not too bad. Okay. Um, Controllers next, I guess. This is going really quick. So, as is my general rule, I want to program these before, or program the controllers before I solder them, because if I can plug them in and flash them, they probably work fine. If I can't, I'm gonna snap it in half, throw it in the garbage, and grab one of the 100 others I have. So, let's switch over to the desktop. And open up QMK Toolbox. Cool. See you, Kaz. Thanks for stopping by. Right. So, let's see. My turn is what I'm looking for. Why is this so damn slow? Okay. LS keyboards. C RKBP slash PMAPS slash Alright, this should be my standard key map that I have on my other corns. We'll see. Can you tell I'm doing way too many things with this laptop? Well, that's no good. Really? It's too big? Great, and that's not working now either. What's funny is odds are really good that by the time I do all this stuff on my laptop, which is a MacBook Air, I will have done this on this is a Raspberry Pi that I'm just SSH'd into right now. Oh wait, there we go. I'm just going to try here. Make CRKBD kitchen Dvorak. What? Oh. Yeah, no space PP. Include firmware. Okay, so it's too big there too. Oh, I know what I can do, because this is not, there's no OLEDs on this board, so I just disable OLEDs. There's no RGBs either, so that'll fix. There's no rotary encoders. I don't know why that's in my key map anyways. Actually, I'll just do this. This. No. 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 And there we go. That should settle. That should make this a lot smaller. There's no OLEDs, there's no OLED, or no OLEDs, no LEDs. There's no reason to have any of that in the firmware. Oh, that's Kyrian. That's why it has encoder. No, no. Now let's try it again. I did the wrong file. Whoops. All right, so we have a firmware. QMK toolbox. This computer's so damn slow. Come on. The funny thing is, this is the latest Intel MacBook Air before they switched to the M1. So it's actually a relatively modern computer, but it's just a potato. Like, it's terrible. Like, I don't even know what it's doing. Ah. Okay, I may just build this on the Raspberry Pi and flash it using the Raspberry Pi, because this is ridiculous. It is totally crashed. Hmm. Maybe? There we go. Okay, that finally worked. Development, QMK firmware, open. There we go. No, that's not the right direction. Oh, no, wait, I didn't need to do that. Okay, cool. So finally, I think we're ready to program. So reset and ground. Okay. Just for grins, I'm going to clear the EEPROM. And then reset and ground again. Am I doing that on camera? I think I am. Okay. Now I'm going to flash. Yes. Okay, so that one worked. Reset and ground. Clear EEPROM. Reset and ground again. Flash. Okay, and that works too. So I'm going to assume that these are both functioning Pro Micros. And go for it. I never remember which way I want to go up with these, but I think I want this. Oh, that's right, because I'm going to clip... Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I want this down as flat as I can get onto the board. And these mount upside down, because if you look here, you've got raw, ground, reset, all that stuff. If you look on the actual Pro Micro, you see those same things over here. Hard to see on camera, but you can line up those legs. I always check because I know the time I don't is the time I'm going to screw it up. But this isn't quite sitting down on the board as much as I would like. Focus, you fuck. Nope, not manual. There. Not quite sitting down on the board like I would like. So what I'm going to do is solder the headers in on the bottom here. And then I'm going to take this plastic bit completely off. Because those just slide off. If you grab them with a pair of needle nose pliers or something, they just come right off. And then slide the board down, or the controller down right on top of it, and push it down as hard as I can. And it's nice and flush with the board. I do wish I could flip it over, so that the flat part is on the is against the board, the keyboard. But I can't, one, and two, that is dangerous with the Pro Micro because these micro USB ports just rip off all the time. So I want it sandwiched between the PCB and the controller as much as possible. But meanwhile, I'm going to try to tape that down as much as I can, just so it doesn't move around when I flip it over and start soldering on it. And then get soldering. And I'm actually going to turn the heat up just a touch because it's kind of cold down here, and I've got a fan blowing and a very fine tip on the soldering iron, so heat transfer is a bit of an issue. And these pins are not heat sensitive, so it's fine. And that's a shitty solder joint. Okay. Okay, so that is that side. Now to pop the controller off, take our trusty needle nose pliers and just carefully pull. You don't want to try to do it all at once because it's gonna, like, they slide off, but it's not flawless. So if you look now, there's a gap between the header plastic and the board. So you just kind of carefully work that off of there. You could probably cut this and make it a little easier, but then you might bend some of the legs, and that's not the end of the world, but it's a little annoying. Just take your time. There it comes off. And if, I don't know if that got picked up, but there was a little snap. That was actually just the header, the plastic piece breaking. And there, another piece broke. And there. Now that side is all off. Grab this side. Work it off. Just try, see if I can do a little bit different here to see if it comes off easier. Not really. Actually, I take it back. This works a lot better. But I want to use slightly less pointy prying things, although that won't fit, so just because I don't want to damage the board, but it's also under the controller, so who cares? Okay. So now we slap this on here. And just so it doesn't move around too much, I'm going to tape it down. Try to get the four corners soldered here, and then I'll take the tape off. Okay. Tape comes off. Now I can just buzz through these really quick. Come on. Alright, and that's the controller. Okay, time for safety glasses. Because these things take a lot of force to break or to cut. And that means if they get loose on you, there's a lot of power behind them. And they're pointy and just, you know, not really something you want to embed in your eyeball. Okay. I don't remember. They are. Nice. Do a little bit of cleanup here. Now, do the TRRS. Reset switch. Okay. So that is this hand done, aside from the switches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug it in. And say something before I solder in my switches that had to ship from Germany. Okay, so that is E. Looks good. Do the other one. Okay, so we got raw ground reset on the left, raw ground reset. Just measure once, cut twice kind of thing. Last thing I want to do is solder it on upside down. All right. Come on. Come on. Oh yeah, that's a lot easier. Okay. Wonder if I can. There we go. Pop that one off. Just trying to be clever there and put the pointy bits on the outside, but didn't work. All right, there's that one. Slap the controller down on raw ground reset, Just making sure. Put this on here. Hold it in place. I just realized I don't think I have a TRS cable down here. So I'm gonna have to run upstairs and grab one in a minute. Okay. That is the controller. Okay, so that's the controller done. On the left hand, do the TRS jack. Reset switch. And that is the left hand done as well. So let's hook this one up and try to say something. Well, I got one. There's some J's. So this one works. Now it's time for switches. So again, we've got Chalk V2 brown switches. I have heard from a reliable source that these are actually not too bad, like compared to the V1 chalk browns. They are significantly better. I have never used them on an actual keyboard, so I don't know. But we'll find out. Being browns, they're a tactile switch in theory. But the chalk V1 browns are notorious for their lack of tactility. So these are not socketed in any way. They are getting dropped in and soldered on permanently because I probably won't ever build another V2 chalk board. And if I do, well, I will just buy more switches when that happens. And also, I am not using a plate or a case of any sort on this. Just because, mostly because I don't have one. Because all I got was the PCBs. That's it. So no case, no nothing. I imagine it's compatible with most chalk cases and stuff, but... or corn cases, I should say. But don't quote me on that. This does have 3 legs on the bottom, aside from the center post. And those 3 legs, 2 are contacts, and 1 is just for stability. This is going to be fun. Okay. So hopefully this will work out okay in terms of soldering. Got to be careful because the diodes are right there. I might actually turn this around, because then the diodes are on the other side of my hand. Because while these diodes are not super heat sensitive, no risk, or no point in risking anything. Okay. Oh, missed a couple. Okay. And then two switches popped out, so fix or put those back in, and I should probably put the cap on this so it doesn't dry out. Oh, ha. I forgot to turn back to the main thing. Sorry about that. That is totally my bad. And I was just in the groove soldering switches and didn't look up. But it's been like that since I was putting the controllers on and stuff. It's been a while. Yeah, okay, so that is everything there. So now I'm gonna hold off. We're not gonna do the caps yet. And do the rest of the switches first. we're at what? 2 hours? 1 hour 43 minutes to build a corn? That's not too bad. And probably a good 15 of that was screwing about with the firmware because my computer is really slow. Because I'm asking it to do way more than it really should be doing. What are you printing? Like 3D printing? Okay. All the switches stayed in that time. All right, that is, I believe, all of the soldering. So now it is just time to put switches on. And I just realized I don't have 1.5U switches for the thumb cluster, but that's fine. All right, let's do this somewhere. I'm just going to shut the soldering iron off just in case. So I don't think I need it anymore. Clean the tip off. So we will put that. Yeah, if I end up liking these and wanting to try it out for a little while longer, I have some MT3 caps that I'll put on here. I just don't feel like taking them off my other boards. Nice. Okay, so I want... Oh, wait. Gotta have my homing keys. Not bad. Oh, wait. Well, they're certainly better than the Chalk V1 browns. There might be something to this. Oh, what am I doing? All right. There's a keyboard. I don't need the fan on anymore. I don't know if I can get the mic down. Oh, that's probably loud. Sorry. Okay, let me go get cables. Or at least TRRS cable. And we'll do a little typing test with this. I'll be right back. All right, that took a little longer than I expected, but that's fine. Plug this in. Plug that in. Mostly I just have another box of cables upstairs, but it's not as organized as the one I have down here. The one I have down here doesn't have TRS cables for some reason. Probably because I've just kept them upstairs because that's where I use my keyboards. Alright, so let's do some monkey type. Okay. Now, wanted that in this window. monkeytype.com. Kill the music. Okay. Problem is I can't see my laptop. Okay. Not too bad. Let's try another one. They feel nice. I mean, they don't feel terrible. And actually, let me put some bump-ons on. If I can find some. Screw it. I'm not going to be able to find some right now. So let's just do another one. Tab enter. Come on. Enter. Why isn't that working? Okay. Is that actually coming through at all? I may have to turn off the noise canceling, but then you'll hear the laptop fan, so it's kind of a trade-off. And the mic is as close as I can get it to the keyboard. I might have to restart the stream upstairs or something, but that involves camera and whatever. I think that's like my fastest I've ever done. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. I made a keyboard and it works. It is a Corne Light V2 with chalk V2 switches and DSA keycaps. And these DSA caps feel pretty decent too. They're not, for just being cheapy Amazon things, they feel fine. That is, oh, I probably hit close window. Yeah, I think I'm gonna try typing on these for a week. I might swap out the caps, but I might also leave it. Because one thing I am still after is a long-term travel board. So a board to go into my backpack. And by backpack, I mean like my giant 50-liter backpack that literally I carry everything I own in while I'm on the trail. And I think this is a good compromise because it's still fairly low profile with the DSA caps. I imagine there are lower profile caps, and I'm going to look out for them. It's still fairly low profile with the DSA caps, but they're not as clicky as like the Robins that I have. And so I would be much less worried about using these in a coffee shop or something, because I'm not going to annoy people around me as much. And they are better than the V1 Browns. So yeah, I'd say we'll see in a week what I think about them. And go from there. But anyways, thank you all for hanging out while I built this. This was a lot of fun. This is the fastest I've ever built a keyboard before. I like the new method I end up with for the diodes. It's way less messy than using paste, and I think probably even faster than using paste. And like, yeah, this just went really fast. I mean, it is a very simple keyboard. There's no LEDs, there's no OLEDs. So it's just diodes, switches, controllers. But good times. Good times. Click away? You mean clack away? Oh, click away. Well, I mean, I don't like to be super noisy in coffee shops, and clicky keyboards are a way to be super noisy in coffee shops. So if I can avoid having a loud keyboard, I would like to. For those purposes, for my own purposes, clicky, I don't know, whatever. But yeah, anyways, thank you all for hanging out, and I'm going to take off and get some afternoon snack going and get ready for D&D tonight. Peace out.